NetAcad, right? So can I confirm that everyone have access to NetAcad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so and also all of us have already downloaded the packet tracer, yeah, and successfully installed, yeah. All right, so we have a bit of time, so it means we can basically take our time to look at the packet tracer. We only have one packet tracer activity file to go through, so can take the opportunity to learn more about the packet tracer itself, the user interface. Some of you maybe have already gone through and check out the software yourself, but yeah, I will go through it with you again. Right, so to get to this week's, not sure why my classroom is slow. Do you have this problem? Classroom is slow. Other things on my internet is okay, but the classroom is slow. But if you open up the practical in your Google Classroom, what you'll do is you basically will see the practical folder, your Google Drive folder, and you'll see that all the activities has been divided into all the weeks. So I want you guys to open week 1 and download the packet tracer. Okay, so let me just share my screen first, so you see what I'm talking about. Yeah, just share your screen. Right, so you can see my screen. You can see also my classroom is very slow to load. It's just going on like that. So what will happen if it's loaded already? Practical, when you click on it, it's actually open a new tab, right? I'll show you the practical folders. Okay, so I need you to go to week 1. So we can ignore register Cisco account. We have already done that. Okay, but you can see the second file, 2.3.7 packet tracer, navigate the ios.pka. PKA stands for packet tracer activity file. So download that to your desktop or wherever you want to download in your computer, right? Because we're going to need that packet tracer file later on. So can you download now? It's a small file, so it should be fast.
Already.
Okay, so what I want you to do, okay, I've actually mine, I already have it on my in my computer. So what if you have installed packet tracer? All you need to do is double click on the file, okay? And what's going to do is open your Cisco packet tracer, and you will notice that there's a user profile. Now, because I will not save mine, I will just leave it as it is as guest. But for you, just enter your name and your email address and click OK. Right? For me, I will just, so maybe because after you finish, or if you're in the midst of doing it and you're not finished yet, but you can continue later, right? You want to save, right? So you might want to use your name and because if you don't, and then later on you click guess, it will just reset back, and all your work will be gone, right? So whenever you load the activity file, you will see that there are 2 things that's going to be loaded. One is the activity itself, and you can see timer running there. That's all right. Okay, we are not elapsing anything, so the timer, take your time to do it. Right, so the activity files will tell you what the activity is all about and what you're supposed to do. And the other window will be the packet tracer window itself. Now, before we go on to do the packet tracer activity, let's just go through the packet tracer itself, okay? So as usual, with any application, you have the menus up there, drop-down menus, and then you have the icon menus on the toolbar, right? And I want you to notice that there's 2 things here, logical and physical. Remember during the lecture, we talk about the topology diagrams, network topology diagrams. Okay, so packet tracer, the way you work with it is that you are actually working with the network topology diagram. All right, and the icons and or whatever items on the canvas or the workspace. Okay, the correct terminology, the workspace is actually representing the real either devices or media in the real world. So here you can switch between logical topology diagram. Okay, so we'll mostly be working with logical topology diagram because here we can then specify, we can label our devices, we can basically go into each of the device to configure, right? But there's also the physical topology diagram. If you notice that when we go in here, it shows you a map. So the top level map, right, shows you the top level, and then you can go in, right? Go into the city, corporate office, and then main wiring closet. And here you notice that remember we have two devices, one in infrastructure device and one computer. So just go to logical and see one, this is a switch in PC. So as you go in, as you see earlier on, we were at the top shows us the home city. So click that, then you see corporate office. Click on the corporate office, then we have the main wiring closet. Notice that the physical topology actually try to simulate the physical location. So our devices here is actually located in the main wiring closet inside our corporate office. So when you click on that, you see the rack there, and then you see the switch, right? The switch, and you scroll down, you can actually see the PC one is just on the desk beside it, right? So the physical topology diagram will show you the location of the devices that you can see here is just placed on the workspace, but in physical, it's actually located physically, right? And if you want to go up, let's say later on, you have a much more complex topology diagram where you have branches when office to switch between location. If you want to go one level up, here is the back level, right? And this one tells you where you are at the moment. Main wiring closet. If I go up, says you are now in the corporate office. Go up, home city, go all the way up the intercity display. So basically, all the way up means you can see the wide area network view of your physical topology, right? Okay, so going back to logical, just basically switching the view. We're back in the workspace here, where we are shown the logical, and in here you can basically drag and click and drop, just to sometimes you want to arrange your devices nicely, so you can drag and drop. All right. So the next thing I want to show to you is the tabs towards the left here. You can see the tabs towards the left here, showing you real time and simulation. Now, because this is a simulator, Cisco has done a lot of things to make sure this simulator is as close as possible to the real devices of the real network. But it's not 100%, yeah. For certain devices, there are certain commands, although maybe it approached 90 something percent, okay, accuracy, but there are some devices it's not here. Also, there are some devices where the command doesn't exist, but for the purpose of our learning in this course, all the commands are available, right? So when we're in the real-time tab, whenever you create a network or here, the packets traveling, all the things that's supposed to happen in the network is actually occurring in close to real time. So that's why it says real time. So it's actually happening as it is. So that means if I go to a PC here and I click, okay, it's give me the physical tab. And if you notice in the physical tab, you notice there's a picture of the it gives you basically a representation. So you can see that here, right? I highlight to you, and maybe I make it bigger. You can see this part, right? That is actually the switch. So when you switch on, this is off, and it's actually off. So you should switch on because it's real time. If the device is as if you have just reset the device, and it will take some time to boot up. Okay, I'll show you an example with a switch, right? You notice that, okay, the key type is locked for this one. I'm just gonna drag one, which is not, hopefully it's not locked, because for some activity, if they want you to do certain things, they will lock it. So you can see as I drag in, it's as if it just reset. Now being real time, right? So the process of booting up the device and loading up all its operating system actually is simulated as well. You can see that now it's loaded, right? Because in the real world, when you switch on your switch, it takes time to boot up all the necessary operating system. Here, the Cisco call their operating system for their device iOS. So please don't confuse with the Apple iOS on the phone, right? So I'm just gonna click that, and I'm just gonna delete that item that I add in, right? So sometimes the activity files will lock, okay, lock certain tab because they don't want you to use the GUI. Okay, one thing about the devices you see in this simulator that is not the same as in the real world is that in the real world you cannot just simply click, right? You have to go to the device and try to configure it. Okay, but of course in here it's very convenient. It's based on a simulator, so you can just go and click and then click, yeah. And it's actually sometimes the tab gives you the configuration, a way to configure it straight away. In the real world, for example, the switch, you cannot just, there's nothing to click, it's just a hardware. So how do you configure it, right? So that means to configure the switch, you need to attach the switch to a computing device like a PC, laptop, something like that. And for switch or router, okay, don't worry about the distinction. Later we'll talk about it. Although we talked about a little bit about switch and router in the lecture before. You need to, well, you have two ways to connect to intermediate device like switch and router. One is via console cable. Console cable attached to the back of the switch. And normally at the back of switch or router, there will be a port to attach a console cable. Console cable basically is a modified RS-232 cable or communication cable or COM cable, right? So that's one way. And if you have configured the switch or routers to allow remote connection via secure shell, SSH or secure shell, or just a plain terminal, then you can then make use of the network connectivity, yeah, because you're going to connect an Ethernet cable to switch or router, so the network connectivity, then you can basically use that to connect to the administrative virtual LAN within the switch itself, right? So here, I'm pretty sure our activity is going to teach us that. That's why we cannot click the CLI tab is locked. It's locked by the activity because they don't want you to do configuration of switch by clicking. Right, so that's real time, means everything happens in real time, right? Because a real simulation. But then if you click the second tab, the simulation tab, what you can do here is you can basically, if you think about programming, when you program, You execute your program, it executes in real time, right? Okay, but there are times when you want to investigate, to do troubleshooting, to do debugging on your program, then you run it in debugger mode, and in debugging mode, you can actually run your program step by step. As you run step by step, you look at the what's going on. You look at your variables content to want to see whether your program is running correctly or not. Debugging mode, right? So you can think about the simulation tab here as if you're running in debugging mode. Meaning to say you can pause instead of running in real time, you can pause. So you can actually see the message flowing step by step from any device to any device throughout the network. And the best thing is you can even list out what messages you want to capture and you want to see, right? So, for example, you can see here if I'm using one of the apps that we will learn how to use to troubleshoot. So the pink will use the ICMP protocol, right? So we can say, okay, if I want to see that protocol, I tick, right? And then it will be captured, right? And once it's captured, it will list out in this event list. And you can double click on the event list and actually look into the message itself. What's the content, right? So we're not going to go into detail for that now, just to tell you that the simulation mode is equivalent to, or that is an analogy of debugging mode in your programming. All right, so that's very powerful because of course in real life you cannot pause the network, yeah, that's going on, but in this simulator you can, right? That helps you to understand in more detail or in more depth how the network works. Secondly, if you're trying to troubleshoot, troubleshoot your network, okay, like in real life we want to teach you, okay, if there's a problem with the network, okay, your user say I cannot access the internet, or I cannot connect to that computer, okay, then you will then perform troubleshooting, and this happens a lot in the real life. You want to troubleshoot your network, see why it doesn't work, why certain things work, certain things doesn't work, right? So part of the packet tracer exercise later on will be on troubleshooting. But before you can troubleshoot, of course, you have to learn a little bit more about networks first and what are the things happening. All right. So that is a real time. The difference between real time and simulation. Most of the time we're going to use real time, right? Okay. So now I'm going to just basically show you this part. And you can see as you place your cursor over the options, it actually tells you a bit a brief title description. What is it, right? So the first one, it says network device. These are the intermediate device. Okay, this is where you will find your devices. As you click that, right at the bottom here, it gives you again the options of what kind of networking device you have. Okay, that you can click and drag over to the workspace. Okay, clicking it and dragging over to the workspace will create a device on the workspace, right? We'll place that device. So the first one is routers. So on the right hand side, you can see all the different models of the routers that is available in this simulator. Okay, and that is where if you when you look at it and you decide, okay, I want to use this model, you simply click and drag and drop onto the workspace to use it. So you have routers. Next is with switches. So you have normal switches, and here you have a model of multi-layer switch. If you notice the representation of the icon, okay? And then we have hubs. We have wireless devices. You can see here, right? And for security, you have the firewalls. and you have wide area network. And normally this cloud represents the internet, and also you have modem, you have DSL modem and cable modem type, right? So those are network devices. Next, you can see end devices. Okay, so here we try to represent a lot of types of different end devices that you might have. So the end devices here you can find is PC, laptop, server, and so on, printer, IP phone, and so on. All right. And then at the home, you might have a presentation of, and we're not going to be using most of this because the home, then we will be moving into something called IoT. And then you have smart city, industrial, all this IoT already. Yeah. Okay. Power grid. But most of the time, we'll be using only end devices because when we go to, for example, power grid, industrial, we'll start to look at what area network. Okay, the focus of our course is mostly on local area network. We'll learn a little bit about what area network using router, but our focus is on LAN. Right, so end devices usually will be using PC, laptop, server, and things like that only. Yeah. Next, components. Okay, will not be using components a lot. Okay, so basically we focus on network devices and devices, and the fourth one, which is the connections. This represents the media, right? So the first one is automatically choose connection type. Means you don't have to think about, okay, what should be the correct cable, right? Packet tracer will try to choose the most appropriate cable for you. But of course, in the process of learning, you should manually decide, okay, based on what you learn, what cable is appropriate, right? So we have console cable. As I said before, console cable is used to connect via the communication port, okay, between your end device, for example, PC, and the networking device, for example, switch or router. And normally console cable does not allow network traffic to go through it. It's mainly used to configure the switch and the router initially. Yes, because it hasn't been configured, one surefire way for you to be able to connect to the switch and access the command line interface in the switch or router via terminal program. In the real world, one adequate or popular software will be PuTTY, right? PuTTY. In the hardware lab, you normally will be given PuTTY software as a terminal on emulator. But you can use any terminal communication program actually, right? Next one is copper straight through. In the physical layer, we'll talk more about the different types of cable, whether it's straight through cable, copper, or crossover cable, right? And then we have fiber cable, phone line, coaxial, and serial DCE, serial DTE. These two basically for the wide area network. Remember the symbol look like a lightning, yeah. Right. This is used to connect largely intermediate device like router to connect multiple lines together. And then you have other cables that we normally don't use. Okay. Right. Okay, so the rest we'll look at it later on when we start to learn more about the OSI layer and the TCP/IP layers. When we start to look at when we try to open up the packets of the messages to look inside, right? So we'll leave that for later. Okay, for advanced level later. So far, do you have any question?
No.
No, right. So in that case, why don't we look at our You can follow while I'm explaining to you. You can follow and try to do. Right. So let's look at the packet tracer activity that we have. Right. So it's called navigating the iOS. Remember, I'd say that iOS is the name given by Cisco, okay, for their operating system that's running in their devices. Okay, when I say devices, the two that we focus on, but sometimes later on we'll look at other devices, but the two that we focus on are switch and router. Now, before I move on, let me just repeat. The switch is used to connect end devices together. Okay, and devices being PC, laptop, printer, all this, yeah. Switch is a network device used to connect end devices together, right, to form a local area network. Right. Right. So just realize that I didn't record. So I'm just gonna stop the record now. Now that we are doing that, so we will help you to choose the device on. Right. Okay. So the router is a networking device used to connect local area networks together. So to simplify, switch, connect, and device together to form LANs, and LANs are networks, yeah. And router is used to connect LANs together or to connect network together to form internetwork. Okay, those are their functions. Right. Coming back to this packet tracer, navigate the iOS. Let's look at the objective. We have three parts to the objective. First part is we want to establish basic connection. We want to access the command line interface, the CLI, and explore the help features of the CLI. Okay. And then after that, we want to explore the exec mode or execute modes inside the CLI. Right. And then, as an example, for now, we just do a simple configuration. We want to set the clock of the network device, in this case, a switch, right? And you can see that it's a switch because of the network representation. The icon looks like a switch. Remember inside our lectures before this. So let's look at the background scenario. In this activity, you will practice skills necessary for navigating the Cisco iOS. Okay, so that means this activity, you want to learn how to navigate you go in, you're connected already to the switch. How do you navigate inside the iOS? You want to learn about the different user access modes, various configuration modes, common commands that you need to to get used to, so that further activities, then you already know how to do that, some basic things, right? And also you need to learn how to use the help system inside iOS, and then configure a simple command like this clock command. Right. Part 1, establish basic connection, access the CLI and explore help. Okay, there are many types of activities. Certain activities, when you encounter the commands for the first time, you actually can do it by simply following the step and doing it step by step, right? And you cannot skip any steps. Further steps along the way, assume that you've already finished and complete the previous steps, right? So if something doesn't work, that means you have missed out certain steps. Okay, so to be sure, make sure you go to each command and make sure you finish it before you continue the next command, right? If something is not working, maybe further along means you must have, and then you have to go back and see which command you have not completed. Right now, certain activities because it's a more advanced activities, it will assume that you have completed the previous activity. It means that you already know how to do certain things. Then it won't be so direct to tell you step by step. It will just tell you, okay, now you need to do this. Okay, since you've done that before, then the steps will not be too detailed or anymore. Okay, so I'm just letting you know as we go through the practical every week, there are certain times when it's assumed you already know how to do it. Okay, right. So click the connection icon, the one that looks like a lightning bolt in the lower left corner of the packet tracer window. So it means you select that to enable all this connection. You notice that we have media, and we don't have media. Sorry, we have end devices and intermediate device, but we don't have media linking them. So that connection means you can select what kind of cable you want to use to connect these two. So it says here, A, we already clicked the connection. B, select the light blue console cable. By clicking on it, the mouse pointer will change to what appears to be a connector with a cable dangling from it. Next, click PC1, right? Console cable is a communication cable, so it will use RS232 COM port, right? Connect to the RS232 port, and then drag the other end of the console connection to the switch, and click the switch to access the connection list. Okay, from the connection list, you can select console port to complete the connection. So let's do that now. So pick this console cable. You can see down here, as you highlight the console cable, right? It tells you what it is. So click on that. You can see like as if you're dragging a cable. Click on PC1, and then from the option, select RS232. RS232 is again a COM port, communication port. Click on it, and you can see right, it's waiting for me to click which device to connect this to. So there's only one, which is the switch. Click on it and select console port. Right? Select console port, and you have a connection. Right? So now what you've just done is to connect the end device PC1 to the intermediate device switch 1 using a console cable. Right? On the PC, connect or RS232 on the switch, connect to the console port. Okay, in the lab, in the real hardware lab, this is done, of course, physically, but you need to do that as well. Why do we need to connect? Why not the network cable? Because switch 1 has not been configured to allow remote connection to it, remote administration connection to it. So the only option you have is to connect physically the console port so that you can access via terminal. So let's see step 2. Establish a terminal session with S1. This is what we want to do, and this is what we can do with the console cable to establish terminal session. So click on PC1 and select the desktop table. Now I always, if you have a larger screen, you can basically set this, you can set this to be side by side. Put it aside and then click that so that you don't have to keep switching. So you can see your, even better if you have two monitors, okay? The activity window in one monitor, and you have the larger screen. But it's okay right now because we have a small network. Right, so click PC1 and select, you see how you can access many things as if you can on a real PC. Of course, not everything, but some of the more important things for networking. So select desktop tab, click terminal. Okay, so this will open a terminal emulator application, right? So these are some configuration, what is the configuration for the connection between your PC to the switch. Just click OK, right? Now to take the default. And what you're seeing here is a command line interface of the terminal. So you are now connected. Okay, you are now connected. This is the real way for you to connect to the switch, the convenient way is basically to click on the switch and click clear. Okay, like I said, in the real world, you cannot do that actually. That's why here in this exercise is locked. Okay, in the real way, in the real lab, using real hardware, this is actually how you connect to it. Connect a console cable to the switch from your PC, and then run a terminal program. In this case, this one, right? And then you staring at the command line interface of the switch. All right. So as we gone through, okay, in a separate Word document, okay, try to answer a question that is given to you. Right. So for example, step 2B, what is the setting for bits per second? And you guys do that lah. Write down. Just now, before I click OK. What was the setting for bits per second? Right. If you forgot, just click that. Terminal again. What is the bits per second? Right. Write it down. And then we reach here. So you can see that it says press return to get started. Right. So press return. Press enter key. Right. So you see there, the name of the switch, the host name is S1, and gives you the prompt. Right? Okay. So what is the prompt displayed on the screen? What is that? That's the host name and that character. Write down your answer. Okay. So we have now established terminal session because we are connected to the switch. And from the PC point of view, you run the terminal program in the PC, you're actually looking at the iOS command line interface within the switch. Okay?
Sorry, what's
Yeah.
host?
Right? Sorry?
Is it the answer is host?
Yeah, that's what's the prompt, right? The host name. You can just type the host name and the prompt character, or just type exactly what you see.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So now we're just gonna go down to step 3, exploring the iOS help system. Now we are here at the prompt. Okay. Even at the prompt, we can already type this character, this question mark character. When you type question mark character, the switch actually lists out what command you can type here. Okay, this is a list of commands shown, exec commands, connect, disable, disconnect, enable, exit, logout, ping, resume, show, telnet, terminal. And you can see that the command here, you can type this command, basically. And here on the second column, you can actually see the description, brief description of the command. What is the command supposed to do? Right? So it says there, which command begins with the letter C? You can see there, which command begins with the letter C? You can see only one. Yeah, that's right. And then at the prompt, type T, and then immediately type question mark. Oh, you can see if you do that, it actually lists out all the commands starting with T. So there are 3: telnet, terminal, press root. Yeah, which commands are displayed? Well, you can type out these 3 commands. Next, we're gonna experiment with another one. We type T, E, and then question mark. So, what did we learn here? We learned that if you don't know any of the command, you type question mark. It gives you all the commands, but you can filter down to closer to the commands that you know, you want to know. Say, all you remember is the command start with T. T question mark, and give you the list of commands starting with T. If you remember more, you said, I know it starts with TE, but then I don't know what rest. So TE question mark, and it filter you closer to the commands that that you might they're forgotten. So this is a trick, a tip that because you're new to iOS commands, if you don't recall the full command name, that's always the problem with command line interface, because you have to memorize the command name, right? So this is a way for you to narrow down. If you don't remember the full command name, this is a way for you to narrow down the search, asking help, the command line interface help to help you filter down to the command that you want, right? So you type TE question mark what or which commands are displayed. This is called context sensitive help, right? Okay, so far okay,
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Right, so now we move on to part 2, exploring exact modes. Right, so this is not exact mode. This is when you connected, there's some things you can do, but it's not very useful if you're the network administrator. In order to access more configuration, or actually to configure the switch itself, right, you need to explore to go in further, right? So if we follow the activity, we already typed question mark before, right? And we know there's an enable command, and enable command is privilege command. Means a privilege command is the one that allows you to configure the switch itself. So if we type enable, now the thing is, even though you already remember, okay, you know the command is enable, but if certain commands are very long and there's a lot of things you need to do, so if you start typing the command and then instead of typing the full command, you want CLI to help you to auto-complete. So I type en and then I press tab. If there's such a command starting with en, if you press tab, unless there's a ambiguity, CLI will just auto-complete for you, right? So answer the question, right? What display after pressing the tab key? What will happen? You type TE tab. Now try to do that again, and then TE. What will happen if you TE tab? Right? Because there are more than one TE. What will happen? Right? Nothing, because it is ambiguous. So if you want to go further, reduce the ambiguity, like let's say I want to run terminal. So you put TER, and then if you press tab, then iOS know, okay, actually there's only one terminal, there is only one with TER terminal, then it will auto-config. So if you try to do TE and try tab, nothing come out, understand that it's because iOS doesn't know, it's ambiguous. There are more than one command starting with TE and doesn't know which one. So to help it, just press in the next character. But once you know, it's very fast. TER tab is faster than TERMINAL, right? And later on, when you're stuck to do configuration, there are a lot of configuration you need to do. This helps you to speed up, right? Speed up your typing. Okay, so let's go to C now. Enter the enable command and press enter. Right, so enable command. Let me try en. Okay, so when you press enter, notice what happened. The prompt change, right? From hostname greater than to hostname hash, right? This is to let you know that you are in a different mode. Okay, now you are in the privilege mode. Before it was just exact mode. Now you enter privilege mode, right? Privilege mode means you have more options and you can actually do something uh, like configuring for the device. So let's try see in privilege mode what commands can we do. So press question mark again, and you can see there are many more, and also they can't display a full page. Actually, has a more there means you have to press enter for one line or space for the next page to see more of the commands, right? Okay. Okay. Any questions over Noah?
No.
Okay.
No.
Line by line, you can just press enter. Okay. If you want the next page, press space bar. It'll give you, will scroll and give you the next page. So these are the things that we have, right? Because although we are in the privilege mode, if we want to do configuration on the device, we'll need to go one step deeper. We need to enter the global configuration mode. That is on step 2. Right? And to go into the configuration mode, you have to type this command, configure. Right? So normally what I do is, right, just type enough, press tab, configure. Now it says configuring from terminal, memory, or network. Okay, we are connected to the switch via terminal, so to accept the default indicated by the angle brackets, just press enter. Right. So now notice what happened to the prompt. The prompt now has an additional word there called config. That is to indicate to you that you are in configuration mode. And you want to, again, just to find out, okay, in config mode, what can I do? Question mark. Okay, in config mode, you have these commands you can do as well. Right? Okay. Now, if you want to come out from the config mode, you type exit. Exit allows you to go back up one level. It means go out of config mode, right? If you see this, don't worry, just press enter. Okay, now you see the config word has disappeared. So that means you are at the top level again in privilege mode. Okay, so now we are in part 3. In part 3, let's do the command that they want us to show to do. Now, if you want to show any of the configuration of device, in this case a switch, you always go at the top level privilege mode here, and you can type show, and type show, and then you're asking yourself, show what? Then put a question mark behind it. You can see all the things that you can show. Show here means please show me the configuration. Show me the what is the configuration for each of these. All right. So here we want to know configuration for show clock. So show clock. Okay. So basically, just show you, okay, the clock of this switch is that. Right. So please notice the date and time in a real device. As a network administrator, obviously, okay, you want to set all your network devices to the correct date and time, right? So that is what we want to do here. Let's do number B, right? Enter the clock command and press enter. Okay. What information is shown?
Incomplete.
Yeah, because we didn't put any parameters. So it doesn't know what you want. So if you're not sure, okay, but what do I want to put? This works with most commands in Clay. Just clock and question mark. So the next thing you can do is actually the command, and you can see the command and its brief description. So that's what you're supposed to do. Type set. Set what? Again, question mark. And it shows you the next parameters that you need to put in order to set, right? So you can see here, clocks set question mark. So what information is being requested by Clee, right? And also what would have been displayed if only you only type clock set command, right? And then you didn't put question mark, you just press enter, right? You find out that for yourself. Based on the information requested by issuing the command, enter a time of 3 p.m. by using the 24-hour format of 15. It's military time. So let's do that. Let's type the military time 15 following the format. It means hour, minute, and second. And are we complete? Let's try see a question mark. Then it's asking for month. Okay. Because we want to set the clock, includes the date and the time. Attempt to set the date to 01. Okay, for example, this one is 0131. Of course, it's look like a US locale. So January 31st, 2035. Right? Okay, so can you guys do that? Try to set the date to that.
Okay.
Follow the format. See, it's asking for month. So month is 01, right? And then proceed. Month. Okay, so it doesn't accept 0. Okay, just put 1. Okay, and then month. Okay, first 31 first. This is asking for day of month. And then month. We accept number. Okay, so maybe it needs January. Right. So it accepts January. Okay, it doesn't accept numeric value per month. So it accepts the short form January. And then asking for year. So 20 it's a 35, right? It's asking for. So I think that's complete. So we press enter. Okay. Then now we want to check our configuration. Show clock. So it's showing it is a Wednesday on January 31st, 2035, and 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. Okay? Can you, did you guys succeed to do that?
Yeah.
All right, huh? Okay, so next, let's do the step 2. The iOS provides various outputs for incorrect or incomplete commands. Continue to use this clock command to explore additional messages that may be encountered should you learn to use the iOS. Issue the following commands and record the message. Right, so for step 2, I'll let you guys do. Okay, try your own. Try on your own. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording now. So everyone can do it, can follow this now, the practical.
Okay. So the step 2 mostly just incomplete command, or
Yeah, follow the instructions. It says do B, okay, and then you type at the privilege mode, type CL and then tab what is shown, write it down, and then next
tab.
Tap clock and then what information was returned. Type the next command, what information was. I mean, you try the commands and see what it reply to you, and then you write down what is the reply from iOS.
We don't use tab. We don't use enter. We use tab.
The tab is only the first the B. You can see see out and then tab. The next one, just press enter.
All
the rest, the remaining just press enter.
They just incomplete command, and then the last one is the got error because 24 because the 32.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just showing you. It's trying to the exercise here is just trying to show you if you type something mistake, right, and then show you the error. So next time when you're doing more advanced things, you see some error, you don't panic lah. Then you know, okay, if you see this this kind of error message, then okay, right?
Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
is this considered as iOS? This CLI?
Yeah. Anything that you have to type the command to interact with the operating system means it's a command line interface. We contrast CLI with GUI or GUI. Okay. When you're using mouse, touch, and all this means you're using a graphical user interface. Okay, there are two types of way the user can interact with the operating system. The first one is command line interface. Okay, and this was initially the earliest way we interface with computer, because at the time there wasn't any. It was not advanced enough to have any GUI, right? But most for convenience or good user interface, then operating system developers, including Windows, Linux, and all this, start to provide graphical user interface because it seems more intuitive, okay, intuitive to people, and they don't really need training. They can just point and click, right? But typically, when you want to configure servers, you are a power user, or you are the system or network administrator. Normally, when you configure network devices, especially or servers, right? Usually remotely because usually you store all your network device and your server in a lock room. Yeah, in a lock room somewhere with aircon and all these things. So it's very inconvenient for you to go in the server room every time you want to configure. So usually this thing that we are doing using console cable is usually when you first receive your network device and you haven't configured the remote administration, so you need to physically connect to the console port of the device, and then you perform your configuration. Once you're done, right, you can then leave it in the rack in the server room, lock the server room, and then if you want to next time, we'll do that exercise later on in the weeks to come. You can just remotely via networking, via your network connectivity, you can then remotely access your devices. Okay, so when you're remotely connecting to it, usually using graphical user interface is quite heavy, right? Quite heavy in the sense that all the pictures have to travel through the network connection. This one is only text. So you can make use of the secure shell or terminal program to basically remotely go into your devices to configure them. right? So it doesn't matter. So once you can connect them via network, you don't even have to be in the same network. You can do it over the internet as well. As long as if you worry about security, later on we'll learn how to configure something called secure shell. Secure shell is encrypted, right? So even if you're on the internet and you want to, let's say you're at home and you want to configure your switches, your routers, your server in your office, right? In your office, and you don't want to go to office. So remotely work from home, right? You can then use something called secure shell to connect remotely, and it's encrypted, so it's secure. Nobody can see what's going on. Man in the middle attack. So that means you can connect directly, and then you can configure even remotely. Yeah. So this is called command line interface. You'll find out as you go through this course or any other course, when you have to do some configuration, this is typically the most common way for system administrators or network administrators to configure devices or servers. Yeah. Unfortunately, for command line interface, you need to get used to the commands. That's why just now for iOS, we learn how to get more information. If we're not familiar with the command, you can use the question mark letter to ask iOS to help you out. Okay, and iOS can help you with showing you, okay, what commands are available by auto-completing or just showing you the list of commands available. Even the parameters, if you're not, you don't memorize the parameters, you can type the command and then put the question mark at the back of it. iOS can help you by showing you what parameters you're supposed, or you can put in, or you're supposed to put in. Okay, so this was the exercise in step 2. Right, so what I did just now is that, okay, so if you typically for exercises, okay, especially with exercises later on, with a lot of activities, one way you can see whether you complete is check result, the bottom of the activity, check result. Okay, this depends on whether it's been activated for you. But once you check result, right, you can then see, okay, assessment items. Then if you did it correctly, there's going to be a tick, right? Then if you want to return back to your activity, click the close, right? So I'm just gonna so that okay. So there's only one activity, to be honest. So there's 1/1. With activities that's more, you'll see something like something over 50, something like that. And you can quickly see if you complete, then it will be 50/50 or whatever values they are over there. Right. So did all of you manage to do all this and find out the answer?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So if you look at the activity, we actually already completed our practical for this week. There's only one activity that we're supposed to do, and the reason being we already done the registration, so our practical is cut short. We are supposed to do the first part to do the registration, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do that earlier on. So now that we have done this, okay, so we still have about I think 1 hour, right? 1 hour of it. So yeah, so because our practical activities complete already, Okay, and we still have an hour. What I want you guys to do is maybe yesterday we have not, you know, not yesterday. When was it? We did the tutorial. I want you guys to make use of the time remaining to do your tutorial. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. Do your tutorial.
The,
Okay.
the past year questions also need.
Yes.
Very,
Yes.
I think the question's very hard.
Is it hard?
Like
Yeah.
because the answer is more open ended,
Yes. It's actually a critical thinking kind of.
more critical thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not.
Well,
I tried to.
try to-
It's quite hard.
yeah. Try to attempt it first, lah. Let me close this first. Try to attempt
Yeah.
first. See, and then just write down what you think is the answer. Okay, it's okay. It's a learning process. Later on, then we'll look at your answer and then we'll discuss the correct answer. Who knows? Maybe your answer is actually correct, right? So the remaining half hour. Okay, I will still be here. I will be monitoring the meet. Okay, so if you have any question, you can ask me. Just now you said it's hard. What specifically is hard? Maybe I can have a look.
It's just the marking the marking scheme I don't understand. I just sometimes the question looks like they can answer in one sentence, but I don't know if you can get full marks. Maybe
All right.
full marks or not. And then some question open ended, and then I don't know how to.
Which one? This their question. I don't know why the numbering like that. Which question number?
The
Extra
first
question.
one, the how possible traditional thing, the things I said.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how.
Can we just maybe explain what the question wants, and then you try to give your own answer first, and then we'll discuss. Okay. So the first question: how possible are the traditional separate data, telephone, and video networks be converged together into one platform? Is it possible or not? Now the thing is, this come under the topic of the converged networks, right? When we
Yeah.
talk about the converged network, when we think about the different types of services, okay, and the network behind it, the platform of network. So think about the traditional phone, phone call, the traditional TV or radio broadcast, and the one that we used to, the computer networks, and think about nowadays how people consume those services. For example, do you think there are more people using Skype call or digital call, IP, VoIP kind of calls, or do you think people still make use of traditional landline? Okay, so based on the number of people leaving traditional landline and start to use WhatsApp call or Skype call, okay, from the point of view of the service provider, okay, where are they moving towards? Do you think it's possible? All right, this is asking you. Do you think for current and future, is it possible that all these different types of networks are converging into one network?
So I just say possible or not also can.
Yeah, possible. And then
If I say
your
possible,
opinion
if I
lah.
say possible,
Yeah, if you say possible, give your opinion. Why do you think it's
or
possible?
need opinion also.
Yeah,
Need to explain.
yeah. Explain your choice. If you say not possible, explain your choice. If you say possible, explain your choice.
As
Yeah,
long as
because,
a little
yeah.
logical can.
Yeah. Then the part 2 of it is discuss one advantage and one disadvantage of this platform. So you think about it. if you say possible and it's converged, so your point of view is it is possible, and you explain why you think so. Okay, so converged network, what is the advantage? And then what is the disadvantage? Okay. Yeah. So think about if there is this converged network, so every services on one network, what is the advantage? So when you think about advantage, you can think about the advantage from the service provider point of view and also the user point of view.
Can you say one? Can just say only user point of view?
Can also. And then what about the disadvantage? Is there any disadvantage? Think about if there's any disadvantage. If you take the point of view of the user, okay, what are the disadvantages if you only have one network provide everything?
Like if you go down, everybody cannot use it like that.
Yeah, possible. Yes. Yeah, because there's only one, the single point of failure then. And then question 1A, data networks have been expanded and repurposed to improve the quality of life for people everywhere. So here data networks means the computer networks are expanded, means scale up, been improved and added. So, and also repurposed. What was the original purpose? Okay, and now it's repurposed to improve quality of life for people everywhere. So think about what do you mean by the computer networks and improve quality of life for people. So if sometimes if you can't think about other people, you think about yourself. How has it improved quality of life for you? Right? So think about the statement. Then the question comes, briefly discuss how networks change the way we learn, play, and communicate. So you think about the before and now. Before, when the data networks was in the old state, okay, we used to learn, we used to play, communicate how. But now, with the kind of computer networks, the improvement, the scaling up, the bandwidth became better. How has it changed the way we learn, we play, and communicate? So you give your own example, right?
Can separate separately say how we learn, change, and then play. How to separate the learn, play, and then communicate.
Yeah, you can. You can discuss it in the separately the learn, play, and communicate, but related to the computer networks. Because we know computer networks nowadays, okay, how is it different from before and now? One thing very obvious is now is faster. We have access to faster networks. So what has that faster network enabled us? Now also with the data networks we have now, we can access the whole world, right? Global. It's easier for people now to connect to internet. Last time it's very difficult, right? And it's slow and also very difficult. Not everyone actually have internet access last time, but now most of all your friends have internet access. All your family have internet access. So now, because of that, okay, maybe you have friends or family outside of Malaysia, remote, somewhere in the other side of the world, maybe. Now, with that kind of computer networks now, how does it change the way you learn? Faster speed, bigger access, right? And more portable access. Okay, last time, our phone is our phone, but now our phone or even our laptop, wherever you are, you're portable. You can bring your devices anywhere, and you can still access the internet. How does it change the way you learn, play, and communicate? Okay, so we talk about communicate. Does it enable you to communicate more? Is it cheaper to communicate? Things like that. Has it made you feel more closer to your friends, more closer to your family, even though when I say family, not immediate family lah. Immediate family, maybe it's you live in the same home, but maybe family as in relative. Does it bring your family members closer together, because now you can communicate anytime? Do you have a, for example, do you have a, let's say you use example as WhatsApp. Do you have a special group in WhatsApp where all your families, relatives, whatever, are in it, or is it your friends? So how has that changed you? How to communicate? Or maybe you use a social media. How has social media allow you to communicate to friends, your peers, okay, your family? Some people now they can share some of the important events in their life, maybe birthdays or weddings, or even a simple matter of going outside to eat. Maybe you share with your friends, okay, there's a new restaurant, something like that. So these examples can be personal to you, or you can make it as general, right? Now, question 1B, the simplest network model is peer-to-peer. Remember peer-to-peer? Both hosts can be either, or at the same time can be client, also can be server, depending on their role. So, part 1, discuss the P2P network model. Okay, part 2, explain when is the P2P network model preferred to client-server network model. When is it that you want to use peer-to-peer rather than client-server?
Okay. For small network.
Yep. And explain lah why you think small network is, you say small network, so elaborate your answer lah. Why do you think so?
Oh.
Okay. What about the yes, sorry?
To discuss P2P model.
Yeah, basically you explain what is the P2P network model lah.
The answer I found is short one, and then just want 8 marks. Or do I have?
Basically, when you have marks like 8 marks, so that means when you say discuss, first you define what is the P2P.
Do we have to do? Then do I have to say the advantage and disadvantage?
Could be, because it says discuss. So advantage, disadvantage can be part of the discussion. So usually you define first and you describe how it works. Why is it called P2P network model? And then if you know the advantage and disadvantage, you can bring it in. You can also put a brief comparison between the P2P and also the client server, just to highlight the P2P network model.
So is this question before the MCO?
Yeah, you can see the 2017. But please note that because now it's MCO and it's open book, right? So you will probably get this kind of question also. Even more so. Yeah, because the examiner try not to ask you a question that is straightforward, because the open book, right? Final assessment is open book, which means you have your notes, you have the internet at your fingertips. So if it's straightforward, then they cannot really assess. So sometimes the question is designed in such a way to be open like this. That means you need to have a more understanding about the topic, so you can provide your own opinion into it. You can more critical thinking also. So I imagine the extra question here, the partial question, you might encounter in your final exam. Due to our state now is open book, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What about here? This is an example. Here the question one up here in tutorial proper. This is an example of more straightforward. Okay, straightforward question. So a lot of students, well, not a lot, but some students, they basically find the answer and then they just basically copy paste. So be very, very careful about that. Okay, your examiner will, because well they are more experienced in these things, can, so they can tell whether the answer is copy pasted or not, right? In main campus, I know that there are students kena already, and then they got their marks kena potong lah, deducted, right? If they copy paste type of answer. So as much as possible, you use your own words lah. Practice to use your own word to explain. Okay, so even though you basically refer to answer, okay, right, this one is refer to answer, you can refer to the notes, right? But you read what is in the notes, understand what it says, and then try to use your own words to provide the answer here. But of course, identify, for example, you can't really change because it's actually given. You just give the name, right? The name, an example, right? So you have to look at the question now. Okay. So any other question on the tutorial? Or you can proceed, yeah? Proceed to do.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I'll let you guys proceed to do first. Any question, just ask me. I will be monitoring. Hello, hello everyone. Okay, so I already created the submission link for tutorial 1 in Google Classroom. So once you're done, okay, submit your answer, tutorial answer in the submission space in Google Classroom I already created. Right, so yeah, I've seen that I think, is it Noel? You already turned in? So sorry, it's Kelvin. Kelvin already submitted. So Noel and Farah, if when you're done, submit, yeah? Yeah, and I'll have a look at it. And then we'll discuss next tutorial session. Okay, I think that's it for this morning. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay.
I'll see you next week, yeah?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, bye-bye.